All right, and we're live. Hey everyone, welcome to the virtual healing session with legendary trauma therapist and life coach Dr. Cheri McDonald. Dr. Cheri is the founder of the Break Free movement, where she's worked with countless celebrities and high-profile individuals to help them tell their story and to encourage others to break free of their traumas to live a fuller life. A few housekeeping items today before we get started and have Dr. Cheri kind of take the floor here. If you want to ask a question, please message me. I'm Gene Swank. You'll see me as one of the panelists. And I will make sure that your question is addressed. We will try our best to keep that anonymous, so I'm just going to read your question. If you don't care about being anonymous and you'd like to ask a question, feel free to type that into the chat. Just that goes to everyone, right? If you send it to panelists, only us three will see it. If you send it to panelists and attendees, keep in mind everyone will see that and they will know who you are. So if you would like to ask your question orally as well, raise your hand and we will call on you, or once again type it into that chat and say that you'd like to read it off. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the lady of the hour, Dr. Cheri McDonald. Thank you so much, Cheri. The floor is yours.
Oh, thanks, Gene. Great, isn't he? I'm real excited about being here. I'm mostly excited because I feel like I'm part of a community again. And as some of you know, I've been really excited about my Break Free movement. And I think it's a great time because it is about community. And during these times, we know this is a time of adversity. I think it's more important than ever that we're part of a community and that we gather together in numbers to really find that grounding again and hopefully be overcome some of the challenges, especially the emotional challenges that we have today. As you know, with virtual healing today, we're going to talk about anxiety and stress and maybe even despair if we get to that point. And because these are difficult emotions and they seem to be more prominent, at least coming across to my attention today than maybe the average day. And so to start talking about how we become empowered again and heal through talk and sharing, and that is the number one step that we take. I want you to know I am listening to you. I'm here. And I hope you take advantage by asking questions today. And because this is a community for all of us in our energy, that we don't find ourselves alone. I'd like to begin today with a quote that I found by Abraham Lincoln. And I just think it's a great little quote. And he said, "Nearly all men can stand and for adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power." And so today, as unity and one, I hope we can feel empowered and that we can find ways, new ways to heal ourselves. In today's world, with the coronavirus, and the stay-at-home orders, many of us are at home and we are dependent on healing from within. And that is my passion. And so some of the things we're going to talk about today that I'm going to introduce and then open the forum for your questions is tools that you can use within your own home, that you can use yourself and adapt to your level of stress, your circumstance, and your desires. And so they're very easy tools to use, but powerful. And that is, again, the whole goal here is to be empowered. And so that is my goal. And but before we begin, we do know what we're talking about. And I think the first thing is to define what these emotions are. What is anxiety? First of all, know that anxiety, stress, depression, they're normal feelings. We need the wide range of feelings. That is what about being human is. And so, but sometimes these feelings can make us feel a little crazy and they can derail us, or we think they derail us from life. And so not only are they normal, you're not alone. We all have anxiety. I have anxiety. When I have anxiety, I talk really fast. And so I'm learning to slow that down. Otherwise, my anxiety is pretty covert. I feel it. I don't even feel it sometimes. I just run a little engine inside me. Some people, they feel it and they show it. And then stress, is anywhere from biting our fingernails to maybe losing our temper, to not sleeping well, not eating. Those are some examples, of everyday stress. These are even the extra stress that we may be dealing right now. And obviously despair, the sadness, and the moodiness, and the apathy, which we'll talk about. And so our goal here today is, as you integrate these tools, that you come to get to the root of these feelings that are bigger than normal, if they exist. And so the everyday circumstances and today's extraordinary circumstances may bring them to light, but they're not always the root of why we go there. Some people go to anxiety, some people go to despair, some people just get grouchy. And so we're all different, but we want to know, where do we learn these patterns? What are they all about? And so let's talk about that, because when we experience stress, we tend to go to the coping skills that we learn from very young that usually are the lowest denominator of functioning. When we're young, toddlers, we're learning to walk. We're not running a marathon yet. And so we go to that basic level of learning, and they usually aren't very adulting or what we want to be expressing. Because the stress is so big, we're on an automatic pilot and we don't realize that. And so let's talk about what these emotions feel like. First, they feel nervous. You may feel restless, tense. You may feel like there's an impending danger, tossing and turning. Last night I had a little bit of worrisome night, and so I found myself waking up, and recognizing that it was a worry that meant I didn't really have control about. I was able to go back to sleep. Sometimes we can't always go back to sleep, and so sometimes it's that like I said, we get moody. We just feel this like low-grade fever, low-grade down sadness. We get irritable. We can lose our sex drive. We can not be able to concentrate very well. Maybe we lose memory. Like I say, I talk fast. And sometimes I talk fast to try to regain memory. I can tell my brain is going, trying to find that word when I can be anxious. Recently, I had a lot of people share with me they have compulsive behavior or thoughts. And we're kind of like being with that stay-at-home order. Some people are like caged animals, and so they're ruminating. Another word for that. Sometimes in their thoughts, sometimes their emotions, sometimes in their energy levels, like they're high energy and then they're no energy. So those are all what it feels like to have these emotions, whether it's anxiety or despair. Then we have the physical sensations. We have body sensations. And so we can feel like we can feel it in our limbs. You may feel your chest tighten up. You may feel your limbs get tingly or weak. And both of those are signs of lack of oxygen. When we get stressed, we stop breathing. And so our body doesn't get the oxygen that it needs, and we can feel it sensationally in our, usually first, and we'll have even achy muscles when that happens. Sometimes we start breathing really fast and our pulse rises up, so we can feel it increase with the anxiety. We're not necessarily breathing better. Sometimes what we're doing is we are having, we're having like a shallow breath. And so we're still not getting the oxygen in our body. We're having, but we're breathing really fast. And that can add us and make us feel even more anxious, make our heart rate go pound, 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 pound. And so that's obviously a popular sign, one that's talked about a lot, I guess, for anxiety. But it's still the lack of flow of oxygen in your body. And so those are kind of short-term responses. You can get lightheaded, you can get feel nauseous because of the lack of oxygen again. Long-term ones, your brain will start kicking in, and the brain hormones can start kicking in and chemicals, and to get that, where the adrenaline pumped up, the cortisol pumped up, and these hormones can affect our moods and take over. And so you just need to know that we're mind, body, and spirit is going to affect us. And we can even tap into our sex hormones and try to get that cortisol, and then we lose the sex hormones kind of decrease, and that creates apathy and usually anxiety and just energy all way around. And then another one is that is the unresolved grief. And so there are certain signs that tell us that we have some unfinished sadness and business that comes up when we are feeling that create anxiety. And this can come up in, it's anxiety, it can be irritability, it can be anger, that really is about, we have unfinished business that we haven't taken care of. The obsessive thinking again, looking for, we're missing. In the unresolved grief, sometimes we're just missing people. And so we have also we overreact or we underreact. And we get, this is where the fight, flight, and freeze syndrome kicks in. Sometimes we just freeze, and then sometimes we will fight unnecessarily, and sometimes we'll flee impulsively and not resolve things. And this is not about what's in front of us. It's about what we don't have control over, that we may be carrying for a long time, that's being triggered in the here and now. Some people are triggered because they're in the four walls, they can't get out, and they have to deal with family issues, they have to deal with relationship issues, they have to deal with themselves. Then sometimes we'll engage in displaced behaviors like addiction and even self-harming behaviors, which addiction is. It can come out as workaholism. It can come out in high-risk behaviors that look like fun, but we know within ourselves that we're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit to escape. And then, like I said, just that apathy that comes as more of a depression. And you may not even necessarily feel sad, but you just don't, you feel lethargic, and you just don't, like a heavy blanket is over you, and you just don't want to do what you need to do. And so, and why is this important? It's important because it impacts, obviously, our functioning, it impacts our personality, it will impact our relationships. Physically, it weakens our immune system and makes us vulnerable. And today, all those are necessary to be strong to combat what we're dealing in today's world. So, and so that's why I like to talk about it. And that's why we want to hear from you and take advantage of being part of a community to really address what needs to be done. So again,
Dr. Cheri, can I interrupt you just for 1 minute here? So we're starting to get several questions that are starting to pour in, and right. I also want to address, because we've had several more people join us as well. So I just want to remind everyone, if anybody has a question, please find me. I'm one of the panelists, Gene Swank. Just make sure you message me directly. If you'd like to keep it private. If you don't mind if it's private, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll call on you and you can go ahead and ask your questions. Otherwise, please message me quietly privately, and we will start to address your questions without mentioning you by name, just kind of just keep you anonymous here, so that your privacy is protected here. So with that being said, Cheri, do you mind jumping into a couple of the questions, or would you like to wait until the end?
No, I could address them now. I was going to, but yeah, let's go ahead and address them, because I think that some will be answered, but I think they're important. And one question is about sleep, because that does play. Like I said, I woke up last night and I was tossing and turning, so, and this is probably for the same reason. The question is, I'm having trouble sleeping because I'm so worried about a family member that has the coronavirus. How can I slow down and start to feel normal again? Do you have any tips to do this? I was up last night because my father has coronavirus, so I get it. And waking up, wanting to hear him, make sure he's okay, was the reason I woke up. And so when I recognized it was quiet, that he really is okay, I could go back to sleep. Part of this is, some of this to me reminds me of being a mother, and I woke up with my babies. And we do that instinctively, because I think it's just an intuitive, instinctive coping mechanism. It's not always bad. It may not be comfortable to wake up, but but sometimes we wake up because we intuitively need to do that. It's not always a bad thing. Worrying, the definition of worry is trying to control something beyond our reach. And it does us no good. It is a lot of wasted energy. We know that rationally. So when you worry, you want to reframe. You know, what is. You know, we can't change it by waking up. And so part of this is we need to know where to put it somewhere. So I like to store, you know, things away. Sometimes I have people that they visualize they have a little, you know, like a little mailbox, and they put it in the mailbox and put it away, and they'll say they'll look at it in the morning. If you're a visual person, sometimes in the night I'll focus on my breathing, and I'll focus on my self-talk, remind myself I have no control right now. Everything is good, and rest is good, and I need my rest so I can be there for him. That's one thing I do. So I will say a prayer. Some people will just meditate and do the deep breathing. But I wouldn't panic if you wake up, because one, maybe you need to wake up. Like a mother of a baby, sometimes we need to wake up. Two, the worrying is the problem, not the wake up. And so you want to just pay attention to that intuitive prompting and see if it's just worry or a premonition or an intuitive need, and honor it. So, so there have been some nights I've gotten up and checked on him. I have to kind of go through the house and down the stairs because of the coronavirus. I had to be separated. During sleep. So put all the garb on to go check on him. You know, I can wake up, and other times I just know I don't need to do that. But either way I go, I know, oh, okay, I can rest now. And so that's one thing. I would try not to change your state too much. If you know you wake up and you know you really don't need to do anything about it, maybe they're far away, they're not like mine, and I'm in the place, maybe you're worried about a family member that's across the country. That's more worry. You're not going to do anything about it. Again, another little method to put it away is have a little journal by your bedside and just write it down. You know, thinking of Joe, I hope he's okay. I'm going to say a little prayer. I will check on him in the morning. Something like that, so that you know that you've done something about it and you can put it to rest. A lot of people won't do this because it takes a little bit of self-discipline, but we all have self-discipline. We can choose to do this. And if we don't do something differently, we're not going to get different results. And so I love the second question as well. And if you'd like more detail on that, we can address that later as well. Is it possible to experience this in a dream or during sleep? I woke up gasping and coughing with so much anxiety last night. Definitely. You know, one person said, you know, which is more real? Do we dream our dreams, or are dreams dreaming? You know, which is more, our dreams, or are we our dreams dream? You know, so definitely our unconscious is on all the time. So, you know, we go to sleep, there's a part of us that's awake all the time and very aware, probably more aware than unconscious. And so when we get out of our own way, things come up. And so the gasping and coughing, I don't know if you had, you know, I don't know if you remember your dream, but sometimes we remember our dream, sometimes we don't remember our dream, but there usually may be a message there. And waking up is to get you out of it so that you don't stay caught up in the anxiousness. And actually coughing and gasping is an expression, it's a release. It's the body's natural release of energy. So it's good that you're able to release it. It shakes us up because in our conscious world, we don't like to do that and we feel like a little panicky, but it's actually a release. So the answer to your question is definitely so. And if you can, again, the journal beside the bed is a wonderful way to capture those dreams, even if it's just a feeling, like if it's anxiety, if it's fear, if it's a color, a smell, try to capture anything you can of your dream, because it may be a message that you could use in the day that'll help you in the day. So those are great questions. I really appreciate them. And so as both of you brought up, you know, the coronavirus is in our present. We have the coronavirus, we have the political climate, we have the protests, we have so many globally altering changes. Almost every day when you open up, you know, if you open up the social media, you turn on the news, it's massive change. And so this lack of stability, a lot of people tell me they can't get their feet on the ground, and so they don't know what is grounding. So I want us to talk about, you know, the some steps to get there. and how we can manage. Oh, I got another question. Before we do that, let me answer it. It said, what do we do with the journals? Just write it down, or do we need to read it? What is the proper format? So, of course, I want you to read it. This is this is your inner voice talking to you. And so the next morning, so when you write down next morning, kind of look at it, keep a log. Some people, you know, they may have recurring dreams. So one night they'll get a piece of it, next night they'll get a different piece of it. Sometimes it's just that feeling, but sometimes you don't remember, and the next morning it's like, oh my gosh, I don't remember waking up reading this. And I've had some pretty inspiring insights people share with me when they write in their journal. And so the proper format is you be you. If it's on a paper napkin, write it on a paper napkin. If you like to keep a leather binder, keep a leather binder. They're all appropriate. It's whatever you'll turn to and you'll use. It's no good to read a book and not apply what you read. It's no good to write if you don't go back and read it and really, you know, and ponder about it. I think these are first steps to some good meditation and self-reflection. And so this goes, you know, actually right into the first step that I want to talk about, and what I call, you know, it's part of my 7-step program. I'm just going to talk about a couple of them today, but it's about reawakening, you know, to your truth, which means you need to know yourself. We have to know where we start if we before we can even begin to heal. And so it took me probably decades before I realized I had any anxiety, because so much of my anxiety was covert. I talk fast, you know, and the reality is I am a pretty deep thinker, and I can worry myself, you know, for other people, not necessarily about myself, about other people, my whole life. And so there's lots of things for me to think about, and I like thinking. I was curious, and so that curiosity could make me more anxious than I realized. And but not being aware of that, I would just spin and not know it. And it would come out for me mostly probably a little paralysis, loss of confidence, and then the rapid talking. To do this, what I encourage you to do is a self-reflection, that you take a little time, and maybe in the morning after you wrote your journal, if that's what you did. But the mornings for me are just really refreshing, and they're quiet times for me, but it's not quiet time for everybody. So find your quiet time. And I like to begin with, when I talk about reawakening, I talk about breath. I think we need to tap into how we came into this world, and that is we took our first breath. When we were born, we made the choice to breathe. And so I like you to, you know, take a nice, big, deep breath. And there's all kinds of breathing exercises I've talked about in the past, and they work. But right now, I think at this time, when the anxiety gets high, sometimes I find that people are resistant in counting. They're resistant in doing it more than once, because the anxiety is like, it's just a different anxiety in the air with this, I think, with the coronavirus, all these changes I talked about. So I'm just going to ask you to take a nice deep breath from, you know, just your own natural breath, however you breathe. But notice if you're breathing shallow, do you breathe deep? How do you breathe? Do you breathe your shoulders up? Can you put your shoulders down? What's your posture like? We don't pay attention. We have to know ourselves. Some people will breathe and they'll be all crunched up. Some people will breathe and they'll breathe big, and it's great, but they'll just breathe from the chest and they don't realize they have a diaphragm. So I encourage just a nice breath. And then when you do that, the second one is do it again, but close your eyes. And what I learned just this week, which I thought was beautiful, and I've taught it in different ways, but I'm going to rob this from the hospice nurse that I worked with this week. And she said, as you breathe and you breathe out, think and say the word peace. She said, science has shown that when we say the word peace in our breath, it changes the chemical makeup of the blood and the brain chemicals. Now, I know when we think of positive words, we change the chemistry of our body. but she specifically talked about peace. So I like that word in today's climate. I think it fits. So let's go with that word. But she validated again that it changes. I never heard the chemistry in the blood molecules. She said down to the cells, and I thought that was fascinating. So how that works scientifically, I'm not really sure, but I'm sure you can research it and find it. But think about that. Allow the peace. So when you breathe with your eyes closed, I'll do it in a second, and you exhale. If you're alone, say the word peace out loud, but breathe in. Peace. And if you do it once, you do it once. If you do it 10 times, you do it 10 times. But notice when you're doing it, okay, how am I doing it? If I'm first time I'm crunched up, first time feels a little shallow, then I encourage you to practice until you get that deep breath and feel the oxygen fill in your body. You can feel your rib cage open up. You can feel across your collarbone open up. You can feel the tingling in your arms as the oxygen feeds your body. And then let the peace go through you. As you're doing that, you're learning to observe yourself. Now, you may not know yourself right that moment, just through breath, but you're learning to observe yourself. And then listen to the self-talk. What's going on when you're doing this? Are you saying, oh, this is stupid? I've done this a million times, it doesn't work. This is not gonna, I'm just too anxious to do this. Or are you saying, I can feel the oxygen. I wonder how the peace is affecting my blood. You know, I know how to do this. What are you doing? And then try to key into the messages you have about yourself. I had one person recently, I'm gonna make this name up as Sam. You know, when he came in he was talking to me about anxiety, and he was struggling with anxiety, and so we're talking. We did this, and we explored. Okay, what message, Sam, do you have about you? And that self-talk that he had was that he should know better. He should know better and be anxious. And there's pretty much a lot of shaming in just having an emotion. Obviously, that shaming is much bigger than the emotion. And that's where I talk about we have some unresolved grief that's probably storing up. And so as we talked about, I said, okay, since we make most everything up, what would you like to feel about yourself? And he said that I'm okay and I do my best. I love that. You know, and so my challenge was adopt that. I'm okay, I do my best. Because good enough is good enough. And so he goes, but I don't feel that way right now. And we don't have to. The goal is find a destination, and then you embrace the journey. The results are results. And this is the beginning of the next step, and that is to revive you. Once you learn and listen, who am I? And maybe you can share it with someone, and you can share it today. That'd be really great. But now you realize I have a choice. I have a choice now to grow in a different direction. I can grow. I should have known better. I can grow. I do my best. Which way do I want to grow? I have a choice. And the magic about I should have known better is opposition. When to have joy, we need to have probably some base of challenge. Sometimes that's pain to be able to experience joy. But life is about oppositional things. So as we step into this, realize I have two choices to go, a fork in the road, we can be empowered to use our free will. So this is the next one, it's a challenge of free will. And how do we find that? This is the next exercise I really encourage people to do. I call the mirror. You probably have heard it a million times, the mirror exercise. But here, I'd like you to find a mirror and really look at yourself. Look at yourself in your eyes. When's the last time you really had a good look deep into the soul of who you are? With the question, who am I? And who am I right now? Am I sad? Am I joyful? Am I vacant? You know, am I shying away? I had another someone just share with me recently. I'll call her Candy, and she said, I had a realization, and that was that when I'm in a confrontation and I'm feeling chastised or I'm feeling challenged, my whole body just cowers. And she goes, that was a learned behavior. I don't have to do that anymore. But that awareness didn't happen until she became aware of who she was by looking in the mirror on a consistent basis, learning to remember her presence and then pay attention to her presence. And that is when she really found who she was. And so she found she didn't do that anymore. And it reminded me of a story that I had way back in high school. I had a roommate, and she was gorgeous. She was outgoing. She was from the East Coast. I was from the West Coast. I was pretty shy. She was not. And we had some kind of confrontation. I don't know what it was about. And she was pretty frustrated with me in the moment. And I was back then, I didn't like confrontation. And so so we're halfway through our conversation, and in frustration, she said, "Cheri, get out of the closet." And I found myself that while she was ranting at me, I was hanging up my clothes, and I had scooted into the closet to get away from her volume, and because I didn't know how to handle the conversation. And so I was cowering. And but that was such a gift to me, because that was a wake up call then. And right then I thought, now I know where I start at. I know who I am. Do I want to be doing this? And these could feel like empowerment exercises, but they really are exercises about getting away from having to react to our emotions. Again, if we don't know where we start within the emotions, they can become like a blanket that covers us and smother us. So many people tell me they feel smothered by their anxiety. They feel crippled by their anxiety, and that's what we don't want. So start with and know where you start. Then next, restore your power. Once you know, now you can come with the I am statements. You have to know who you are to come with to this. Sam had to know I should know better to know that I can do my best. And so with this, I really encourage an EFT exercise. And this one is, again, science is showing that if we have this little V part between the back of our hand, between our pinky and our ring finger, there's a little space. And I just want you to go that little space, and you put 2 fingers there and just feel the space right there, because this is really easy to do anywhere you're at. And then just start tapping there. And then pick the I am you want to be. Like, I am awesome. Whoa, I'm so awesome. Now you may think awesome doesn't have anything to do with anxiety or depression, but I guarantee you, if you say I'm pretty awesome, and you let the body, you let the chemistry, you let the neural paths, the meridian paths do the work for you, you'll feel energized. And you can keep just doing, I am pretty darn awesome right now, and I don't need to cave into this anxiety. If it's at night and you're sleeping, you want to sleep, you can do this and say, okay, I can relax. I can relax. In fact, I don't have to worry. I can do nothing about it, but I can relax and I can have peace. Yes, and you can add the peace. And I can take a breath. Peace. And work all these together. Like I said, the goal is for you to find your own creative way to apply these. And then you may decide to write, because you may get an epiphany. It won't even be for the memory of a dream. It may be a new insight, an inspiration. And so because our mind, again, our unconscious is always working for our behalf, but it can unfreeze you and take that paralysis away. So I like you to think about that. And then the last one that I really want to touch upon is rise to self-forgiveness. A lot of people, when we get to the root of their anxiety, their stress, and you think it's the day-to-day stuff because there's enough out there to drive you crazy and to be scared about, is the lack of self-forgiveness. We forgive other people so much easier than we forgive ourselves. So how do we do that? Aside from all the other exercises, you do all of them. Take the time to just acknowledge, okay, do I have unfinished business I haven't really embraced loving myself about? Do I hold a grudge with myself? Do I ruminate about something that I should have done, that I did, or I should not have done, and I'm kind of beating myself up over it? Pay attention, and what can you do about that? And this is really the heart-to-heart talk you have with yourself. This is where you tap into that inner healer that we all have. This is really key. And I really encourage people, first, again, part of getting to know yourself, give yourself a big hug. Know what your hug feels like. because then you know what your love feels like. So just sit. And this can happen in the middle of the night too when you wake up from a bad dream. Just sit back and give yourself a big hug. And breathe. Peace. Maybe tap. I do forgive myself. I am human. And I can start fresh today. I choose who I am to be. I'm at peace. Part of healing is being able to find that peace in the midst of the storm. And we have a perfect storm to find that calm. And then, and as you do that, then you can take your hand. I like to take my hand. I'm left-handed, so it's my dominant hand. You may choose your right hand. I put my left hand over my heart area, and I just like to, because I like to feel my hand against my heart. They say our hand is a healing vortex. Like Sedona has these vortexes of healing energies. I like you to think about, you have a healing vortex in the middle of your hand. As you place your hand on your heart, let the healing happen. You place your hand on your child. You place your hand on your loved one. A lot of times, one thing we're starving for these days is touch. With the coronavirus, we can't touch, and so not like we want to. And we can't stay as close to people as we want to. We can't feel their energy and their auras like we like to. So, but we can feel our own. And if you think about it, when's the last time you felt your own energy, your own hug, your own healing energy, your own aura? This is the time you can get to know thyself. And that is where the last healing happens. I had one woman, she shared on a call her Heidi, and she said that to do that, she also uses symbol. And for her, she said she had a heart crystal. And she said someone gave it to her, so that meant something to her. And she just took the crystal in her hand, and she said she feels the energy, probably the love from the other person, and the love and then the energy of the crystal itself. And she just holds it, and it changes her mood immediately. Some of us are symbolic people. Some of us are energy people. Some of us are taste people. Some of us are rational people. So whoever you are, it doesn't matter. Let's try to be there. And remember that we can start now. Start with yourself, reawaken, revive that voice, that you have a choice. You don't have to stay stuck. You can restore who you are by deciding now, I am. And you can tap that in you and be it from the cellular level of your body and rise free from the attachments of yesterday. And these are keys you can do in your own home, at your own leisure, as deep as you want and as shallow you want. It is a healing process. And encourage that you talk about it. That you learn that it's okay to be listened to, and that you take advantage today. These questions have been really great. I'm going to open some time up for questioning because I really want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you have to say so that we can learn from each other. This is the beginning of having a vision of purpose. When we know that life is beyond coronavirus, life is beyond economic ruin, because we're going to prosper again, that we really know opposition to all things, we can find the diamond in the rough, because there's a lot of rough right now, then we can know what we're made of. And our purpose just starts to blossom like a rose. Find that purpose. And if you want help, let's talk about it. Because you are important. You do matter. We all matter. Thanks. And I'm welcome to hear any questions that you have. Ooh, I have one. That's great. Thank you. My son is scared about the state of the world. Do you have any tips for kids? Kids are, they're little bundles of wisdom. They know more than we know they know. I think that you start where he's at. And one is you let him know that you're there for him and you're really listening, which sounds like you are right on. Second, you don't be scared of his question. And in fact, expand on it. Ask him, okay, tell me what did that scary feeling feel like? First, focus on the feeling. If he says I'm scared, okay, tell me what scared feels like. Because kids are really good about visual, their imagination is fresh, they are creative, they haven't been hampered by adult world where we kind of lose sight of that. So what does it feel like? what does it look like? If you could make a cartoon character out of it, what would it be? And how would you want that cartoon character to handle this? And usually if you give them a character that they will say, Superman would hit it with, whatever his strength is, and let them be the Hulk, let them be whoever they are, and then talk about real life. And real life is, we always rise. And if you can come from, there may be a family story you have, a hero in your own family. You may go to a hero. See, we thought that Superman was going to crash on that wall and die. No, we're not Superman. We don't come back alive, but he found a way, and find a creative way where he found to solve a problem. It doesn't have to be Superman ways, but usually all these characters, they have realistic ways that they solve the problem. And that no matter what happens, he is born at the right time to know what to do in the time that he needs to know what to do. So give him hope and give him confidence that he will know exactly what he needs to do to be safe, and that he sees that you have confidence. Because a lot of times kids think about our own fears, and we're human. We're not going to always be able to hide our fears. So then if you're showing your fear, then be honest about it and say, yeah, I kind of get scared too. And I kind of forget that I'm going to be okay too. And you reminded me by bringing this up, we're going to be okay. But you don't want to lie to them. You don't want to tell them something that's not going to happen. You don't want false promises, but you want hope. Kids, adults, again, we get in our stinking thinking, and we will dismiss hope far more easily than a child will. So let the child's hope rise. Okay, another question. As a man, I feel like I need to always be the strong one in the family, but I'm terrified. How can I keep my masculinity if I'm terrified myself? Being terrified as a man is masculine. And I mean it. We're human. So one of the best role models is to say, yeah, sometimes I feel terrified too. And then share what you do to overcome that terrified. Maybe you'd say, like, when I get scared, I stand up. I go get a drink and drink a big glass of water. I will go out and I'll go for a run. I do whatever. I'll go pound sand. I'll go get the boxing bag. And I'll do some boxing. You don't have to have global worlds. Global solutions. You need to have an answer. And again, kids need hope. Adults need hope. And when you hear yourself giving these answers, like, I'll go punch a punching bag. Ironically, it gives us a little hope that, okay, this feeling, because it's a feeling, terrified is a feeling. It's not happening to you right now. It's a feeling. We can overcome it. And I love yoga, because yoga, they talk about samadhi. And it says samadhi is finding that calm mind amidst the storm. So I'm not saying a storm's not happening. There's not reason to be terrified, but the best thing we can do is change our state in that moment. And so those are some examples. They're short, they're quick, and then you can do the other things we talked about, and you can do more in depth of the tapping things that walking is a binary movement. You can walk, and walking takes calms the rational brain down, which is the terrified. It calms it down because of the binary movement, and it opens up the creative imagination. And then you'll find solutions that you never thought of and didn't think would work. So you may just see a blossoming cactus and say, oh, that's beautiful. How can, a cactus can grow like that, and a beautiful flower in arid, ground? That would be terrifying for us because we live on water. Okay, if that can happen, a solution for this can happen. You don't have to know what it is right now. Doubt you do, but you can have hope. So I hope that's a good question. So I'd love to hear some more questions. So I'm going to open up.
Dr. Cheri, we're just about out of time, so we do have to just about wrap it up. If we have maybe one more question, we might be able to take that. Otherwise, we probably need to wrap it up because we're just about out of time. Also, a question came in, which I'm just going to read because it's more of a comment than a question. And somebody said, Dr. Cheri is a gift herself. Thank you. So you got a fan in the crowd as well. Sure. So if anybody else has a question, like I said, we can maybe have one more final question, and then we gotta wrap it up for the day, unfortunately. So if anybody has one more question, please feel free.
As you come up with a question, I just want you to remember, that you really matter, and that sometimes we forget to use our voice, and we forget to talk about what we're feeling because we're not paying attention. Most people have big hearts, and they're thinking about others, and that's really, really important. And we don't want to lose sight of that, and we don't want to replace that. And we can only give what we have. So selfishly, I'm asking you to think of yourself and find within yourself, again, where you start at, invest the time to do these exercises so that you really learn that you matter, and then share, talk, because people need to hear you. We learn. That's the only way we learn. We are relational beings, and being sequestered into staying at home, not being able to mingle like we usually do, not being able to do our activities, the loneliness is really hard sometimes. And so we don't have to be so isolated. We have this medium. We have so many ways to connect. So don't be shy. My Break Free movement is I really want people to reach out and be leaders. I'm going to say all of you are leaders that showed up today. I hope you lead the way and reach out to me to find ways to really spread this word so our communities can heal, not just individually, not just within our homes, but as communities. And I see one more last question, so I'm going to steal it. Are you available?
Cheri, we have two questions that just popped in at the same time, though. Okay. One of them just said, I'm just gonna read this real quick. One person said as a comment, "Thank you, Dr. Cheri. I miss you. Hearing your voice comforts me. Praying for your dad." So I just wanted to do that, and then I'll let you get to the last question that just came in.
Okay. Are you available to work with people one-on-one? I'm not good in a group setting and feel embarrassed. Bless their heart. Yes, I am. I love both, and so I am. And that's why I hope that people know that I'm always here, and this is my passion, and this is how I stay healthy, is being connected to people. And so and I can't express that enough, that I want we all to stay connected. So thank you.
That's actually a good segue into, can everyone, I don't know if everybody can see my screen. Can you see my screen, Cheri?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so for those of you that stuck around until the end, Dr. Cheri has agreed to do a free 15-minute sort of clarity session with you guys. Cheri, do you want to talk to that for a second? The link is on the screen there. It's the calendly.com/Dr. Cheri/15 minutes. We'll also be sending that out in a follow-up email after the call, or if anybody's watching the replay, just feel free to click on it right there. Dr. Cheri, did you want to talk to that for a few minutes about what kind of questions and things that they can ask you during this 15-minute call, or is it just for any question they have at all?
No, really, it's for any question you have at all. I want to be here. It's my, you can call it coronavirus gift. I want to be here to if you have, like someone said, they're a little embarrassed, they want to work through more deep things, but I really want to hear, if I can answer something in 15 minutes, I can touch base. We can to give you more peace, let you sleep better, wherever the question is that's more personal to you. That's my gift to you.
Excellent. And I'm going to also type it right here into the thing for everyone to see. It is calendly.com/Dr. Cheri/15min. I believe that was the correct link there, guys. So if you click on that link right there, you can schedule the call with Dr. Cheri to have, like she said, a free one-on-one conversation with her. You know, especially for those of you that said you were embarrassed, it's definitely a good opportunity right there. And yeah, so with that being said, Dr. Cheri, any last words of encouragement for those individuals that are out there? Oh, another person said, "Good stuff, Cheri." So thank you everyone for the great comments. And I hope you guys, we really want to encourage you to take advantage of this. I mean, it's truly a gift that Dr. Cheri is doing here. So I want to encourage you, please take the time to schedule a one-on-one with Dr. Cheri so she can, sometimes it helps just to talk, right, Cheri? Just to talk.
Yes.
So go ahead, Cheri, do your final comments, and then unfortunately, we got to wrap it up because we are out of time.
All I want to say is I see some familiar people that I can see. I want to thank you for your support. I miss all of you and love you all. And the other is, I just can't say enough. I want to be here for you. I also want you to have hope in these times. I feel like things happen for a reason, and one of the greatest gifts we have is a curious mind. So if you need to go for that walk to open that creative sphere, do it, because you have a lot of creativity to get back to. And so I hope you do, and voice your voice. I can't say it enough. Love all of you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.